From SiriusXM's Doctor Radio, this is Coronavirus. Everything you need to know now.
From the Psychiatry Show, here's Dr. Michael Aronoff and his wife and co-host, Dara Welles, speaking with Dr. Nicole Foubister, Clinical Assistant Professor of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry at NYU Grossman School of Medicine.
Michael, let me share this one with you. Jenny in Oklahoma says, we have a 4-year-old home with us right now. That sounds familiar. My husband is looking for work, though in light of the pandemic, that's not a major push right now. I'm doing consulting work from home. Our daughter cries when she has to say goodbye after her Zoom visits with schoolmates. What can we do? Also, how do I hide my anxiety from her? I'm starting to worry about money for our family with everything going on.
And I'm sure this is not an unusual kind of picture.
This is being repeated, I'm sure, in
Thank you, Jenny, for
many
the email.
households.
Well, first of all, Jenny, I'm so sorry that you guys are going through such a tough time, especially with your husband being out of work. There are, obviously millions of people who are going through similarly tough situations, and I hope that remedies itself and he's able to find work quickly so that is not a stressor for your family. In terms of your daughter being upset after the end of a Zoom call, one is validating. So if my daughter was upset getting off a Zoom call with her class, I would say to her, wow, it's really hard to say goodbye to our friends at the end of class, isn't it? And then she would say, yes, it's tough and I don't like it, and, whatever she would say. And I'd say, no, it's really hard. And honestly, I would just then hug her and kind of just validate that you see that it's tough and that it's tough and, to support her. I often use distraction with my 4-year-old. So at the end of a Zoom call, if I knew she was going to have a difficult time, that would probably be a time that I'd say like, okay, after your Zoom call, we're going to do a Go Noodle, which is an app where you do silly movements, or we're going to go outside and take a walk, or we're going to go for a scoot, whatever it is that you think that she might like doing. And the other thing is, if you're not opposed to it, you can set up either FaceTime or Zoom playdates, and you just contact another parent and say, I know it's hard to get off the phone. Who would you like to see later today? Why don't we set up a playdate and you and whomever can talk and play together? And I've been amazed at actually the fact that my kids have enjoyed doing this, even at such a young age, and seeing their friends, so that she doesn't feel like, this is her only moment. And it's quite nice to have them one-on-one. And then in terms of managing your own anxiety, I know for myself, because we have a lot of changes, that I like to sit down with my husband at night and just talk about all the things that are kind of on my mind. I also like to write them out and to just have that time. So during the day, I try to just focus on getting my work done and doing my best to parent my children. And then I kind of try to save my worry for a certain hour at the end of the day, from about 8 to 9, right after we put all the children to bed. We talk through the things that we're concerned about and try to figure out plans. And so I have found that to be personally helpful, because children they're really sponges in terms of picking up on our moods, and the more peaceful we can be, obviously, the more peaceful they are.
With people who are concerned about their kids acting out with the relaxation of routine and structure, are you running into that in your clinical practice?
Yeah, I think especially initially, actually, a lot of kids were acting out more or just feeling very sad or disconnected, as their routines changed, as they no longer had access to their schools and their friends and their activities that they love. And people would report that their kids, were defiant, didn't want to do their schoolwork, yelling, crying, all of those sorts of behaviors. So, yeah, I think they seem to be less frequent. It seems to be that kids, and not all kids, obviously, some kids are continuing to struggle, but the kids are starting to get used to a new normal and being homeschooled and adjusting. And we've talked about making sure that kids feel a sense of empowerment and that they feel validated. A lot of parents will sometimes call and say, we're trying to do everything and my kid keeps complaining. And sometimes all you need to do is actually listen, right? Sometimes a child comes to you and says, wow, this really stinks. My oldest daughter said to me the other day, I'm really disappointed that I won't have my birthday party with my friends. And I said, I can really understand that, actually. I can understand why that would be really disappointing. And then she literally, I was kind of amazed, just started bopping away and started singing some random song. And I think sometimes parents instead will say well, don't worry, sweetheart, we're going to make it fabulous and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And it's really not that bad and all of these kinds of things. But sometimes you actually just need to listen and validate. And the child gets to unload it. Obviously, it doesn't always go that swimmingly. And I could tell you story after story of horrible parenting moments in my home, like every other parent.
Oh, share. Please do, Nicole.
I mean, well, gosh, there's so many.
Start with
Just
one or
pick-
two.
just
we
pick-
we
just
have
pick
time.
any.
Right.
We have time. I mean, I have 3 children, so having them all home at the same time, naturally, there's going to be sibling conflict from time to time. I'm lucky that my kids get along actually really well. You know, they might have a fight over something, and so that can be challenging.
There seems to be an opportunity to feel, well, what's the purpose of all this? What are we doing? And if it's compounded then by the fact that the phone doesn't ring or you don't have any other kinds of distraction, it just feels like, well, I mean, this is a little dramatic, but like a black hole, like a lump of coal in your chest.
We're seeing anger now, Nicole, especially in terms of protests, people out in the street saying, we're done, we've had it, we're losing our livelihood, which is true. A lot of millions of people have lost their jobs. But the anger now, it's like, okay, you told us to lock down and flatten the curve. We've done that. Now let us out.
Right. I mean, that's really tricky, right? I'm on a lot of physician mom pages and all these different kind of WhatsApp text groups with different moms, and that's kind of the big question. You know, I haven't seen people feeling super angry on any of those forums, but obviously you see in the news people feeling really angry, but people are wondering, what can we do? Are we able to take a walk on a boardwalk this summer? Are we going to be able to, can we go to a national park? You know, when does this end? And I don't think anybody has the answers to those questions. And I guess we're kind of, for the states that are opening up, we're seeing how that goes and whether or not, you know, it's a safe thing to do. And everybody's family obviously has a different sense of risk tolerance, but then I think we're also all trying to take care of one another. So they're tough questions to answer.
Get facts, not fear, from SiriusXM's Doctor Radio, presented by the leading experts from NYU Langone Health. To learn more about Doctor Radio, including shows and schedules, go to SiriusXM.com/Doctor Radio.